goes live. Good morning. Welcome to a new month and month end simultaneously. Today, I thought I'd start with an interesting video. If you're not familiar with the movie Crazy People, you can watch it. This is the link here, just so you know. And then, that's the Crazy People trailer link. And then I'm also going to play the ad from Stellantis. Well, let's start here. Here we go.
It's not easy for me to digest that.
Until he hit upon a brilliant advertising strategy.
It's not easy for me to digest that.
Until he hit upon a brilliant advertising strategy. The truth.
Paramount Pictures presents The Freak. This movie won't just scare you, it will fuck you up for life.
Jaguar, for men who like hand jobs, for beautiful women that you hardly know.
Let's not lie, Steve.
Let's level with America. We can't level, you crazy asshole. We're in advertising.
So his company rewarded him by putting him in a mental facility.
Hello, I'm William Posen. Hi.
Introducing the new Jeep Grand Wagoneer. It's rugged and refined with room for the whole family.
And room to make a family.
That's right. This baby is for making babies, which is why it was named the best car to have sex in by a real website. And then my drape flies off, and I'm like, oops, sorry.
Who's she again? Eliza Schlesinger, the comedian. She sent me an email that she had an idea that was going to tickle our carburetor.
Yes.
Well, Eliza, thank you for coming right in here unannounced.
Absolutely.
Yes, we love surprises. It's just that the Jeep Grand Wagoneer is for families. It's not for...
Families are great, but this is historic.
You guys were named best car to have sex in.
This is bigger than airbags.
Wow. You really went all in on this random article.
And I want to rename it.
Yeah, just not sure how we feel about renaming our family SUV the Grand Shagoneer.
Eyeballs.
Banana Split. The oven warmer? Who's that for?
We can workshop it. Look, I know I don't work here yet, but I know what sells cars.
Sure, it's just we're losing the family-friendly side of things. Features like 3-row seating, touchscreen TVs with streaming.
I thought this was going to happen. I know it's too much beautiful, intelligent woman. That's why we booked a handsome, rugged, relatable husband.
Families love the 3-row seating, the ambient lighting, and the 62.5 inches of touchscreen.
No metric system here. And then I slip into something more accessible. I could stay here all night.
My arm fell asleep.
So sweet. Too modest?
Opposite.
Maybe a house will have something that screams family.
Anyway, if you haven't watched the whole ad, here's the trailer. It's an ad, actually a real ad from Chrysler. They're putting right now out on the new Grand Wagoneer, which I don't think sold very well, but maybe that'll change things. So if you haven't watched Crazy People, the movie, you can check it out. It's from the 90s, and definitely watch that ad. I thought it was hilarious. Anyway, here we go.
Show.
All right.
Life is about connection. Having a support system to lean on. And roads to endless possibility. At every turn, guiding the way, we are building the connections that move you.
Hey, I'm Vince Delmonico, General Sales Manager with Cruise Ford Lincoln. Larry Feldman came out and did one of our training courses. Absolutely incredible. I sat through the course myself. The engagement that our salespeople gained from it, the excitement that he brings, it was a new way of looking at things that we're already doing and how we can improve them. Love it. It's literally the best thing since sliced bread.
How do you adventure? Is it fast? Is it free? Is it clear? Is it rugged? Is it remote? For your next adventure, trust MotoClose for buying, selling, trading, and protecting all of your motorized assets. Powered by Disclose Dealership Management Dashboard, your all-in-one DMS, CRM, menu, lead gen, inventory, staff, client, and deal management solution. Disclose DMD, like a DMS, only better. Mention promo code AutoHub2025 to get special pricing, including waive setup costs, no contract, and your first month's free.
Car dealers often underestimate the power of social media. Are you wondering why my face is plastered in your newsfeed? Are you a GM, dealer principal, or a manager at a car dealership wondering why you see me all the time on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and all over social media? Well, that didn't happen by chance. I target car dealers that are in-market shoppers for social media services, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing for you so that you target in-market shoppers for your brand of customers that purchase your vehicles. During my Viato days, helping car dealers appraise and price cars, everyone was asking me, what do I do on social media? What do I do with Facebook, Instagram, TikTok? And this was back in 2016. So here we are 10 years later. I started a company, became an entrepreneur, and now I help car dealers. They either outsource their social media needs to us, or we have a training and education center where we can teach all of your employees to do social media in-house. 90% of consumers actually follow a business on Instagram. The average adult sits on TikTok for 2 hours a day in the rabbit hole. To learn more information about it or to get a demo from one of my sales associates, click the link below. We would absolutely love to help you.
Good morning, Vietnam. No, good morning and welcome. Let me just share this. We're good to go. All righty. So we have a newbie on the Auto Hub show this morning. I'm sure Larry will chime in. I know he's flying or driving, depending on what's going on with the U.S. government. I hear there were some issues with air traffic controllers. So I think he was driving today. So he may or may not be on. But I wanted to introduce the other Peter. So that's Peter Webdoc Martin this morning. And Peter's never been on the show before. So, Peter, maybe you can talk a little bit about you and what you do. And also give me your thoughts on, I guess, using sex to sell Jeep Wagoneers.
Well, I got to tell you, that's quite a commercial. I couldn't see the whole thing because we're in the other mode, but I'm going to definitely go back and watch that. But I've been doing this for longer than I want to say. I actually started my first ad agency back in 1986 when I was still in college. And I was fortunate enough to pick up a dealership called Reichert Ford, and I did their marketing when I was in college and went to work for Reichert. So I've been around for a very long time. My company, Cactus Sky, a lot of people know us because they get emails from us for various clients and things like that. But that, quite honestly, is a very bold step, especially in this market, to be going out there with that kind of ad. But it'd be interesting to see how it does.
Yeah, I mean, I was the reason I used Crazy People is Crazy People was about an ad exec that went off the rails and started writing ads like this in the 90s. But for them to be that bold about it, I thought was really interesting. And I actually had a talk over the weekend, a buddy of mine, and I said, do you think the Japanese car makers would use that kind of language in their ads? I don't think so. But obviously they want to move some Wagoneers. So I guess you can test it out in the showroom and see what the people seem to think. Anyway, so we had the other Peter on next. The other question I had, I guess, for you, Peter, is, you know, obviously when you look at Stellantis as a brand or Chrysler as a brand, or maybe even Jeep, I mean, do you think that's going to move the needle on the Wagoneer? I think those things are about $100,000. I don't know, but you know, what do you think?
No.
Nope.
That's the plain and simple of it. That vehicle was brought into the marketplace $30,000 above what it should have been brought in at. They rejigged it. It was $110,000 US. And when you could buy a full loaded Lexus a TX 7-passenger for $90,000. So what are you going to do? You're going to buy a Wagoneer, or you're going to buy a TX Lexus. It was a simple equation, and they blew it because, and everyone knows it right now, that Stellantis overpriced all their cars during COVID. They maxed out their opportunity on their MSRPs. Now they're trying to pull it back. And then when car dealership guy puts out a post saying that it's the largest amount of people ever underwater on their car loans, and puts a picture of a Dodge Challenger on it, you know that the company's in a little bit of concern as to what they're going to do. And my belief is watch Chrysler or Stellantis come out in the States with incredible leasing rates. And they're going to push leasing in the next 36 months to basically balance out their portfolio. And that's what you're going to see.
So you're not running out to buy one? Is that what you're saying?
Not at this moment. They don't. The only product that they have that is of any interest to me is still the Wrangler, and the Wrangler still remains an anomaly in the industry. It's not a great vehicle, and when I say it's not a great vehicle, the front ends of them vibrate faster than a broken shopping cart at Costco, and they'll flat out tell you they've nicknamed it the Death Wobble, and that's at a dealership. I was there 1 week after getting my Wrangler, and they said, "Oh, you got Death Wobble. That affects 1 in 4 cars." I'm going, this is a dealership telling me, and so they basically have to retrain their entire teams from the ground floor right up to the top, and then back down again.
So you didn't get the 50 cals with that? You didn't get the 50 cal machine guns with that, like Circa?
No. So it was a comical. I don't have the vehicle anymore, but it was a great truck for what it was. But they just don't even market it. Like, if you want to go this route of advertising, the Wrangler 4xe had a 0 to 60 time faster than a 930 Porsche.
Wow.
And that as a 4-wheel drive convertible truck that can go anywhere and run for 50 kilometers, 30 miles on electricity. Like, you had so many different marketing angles that you could use for that vehicle, but they didn't use one, and they blew it. I had dealers in the States calling me all the time. How do we get rid of these? How do we sell these? Well, there's so many different ways.
Maybe they should have got Arnold. They should have got Arnold to sell them. Like, I was at a Chrysler store on the weekend, and they have those electric, what is it, Challenger or Charger or whatever, Challenger I think it is. They even have an electric Grand Wagoneer, I think. And they're trying to sell these things because they've already been discontinued, I think. And I was like, well, what about how much back they'd have on those cars? What do you think, Doug? I mean, obviously sex sells in advertising. Do you think that's going to sell more Grand Wagoneers or whatever, Jeep Wagoneers?
No, not really. But when I think about it, when you got nothing to lose. So you got to go for it. That's kind of the way I looked at it.
Nothing to lose. So, I mean, I also felt something really.
Not like me coming back from the conference last week, smoking too many cigars.
Yeah, no, I think I'm trying to bring in my inner Barry White.
Ah, there you go. I got the low and slow voice going. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting too last week. Some news on the Canadian side, which I'm not sure if Americans are familiar with, but the dumbass government we have decided they were going to start putting tariffs on made in America vehicles coming in here. And there's even talk about BYD. I was talking to a dealer buddy of mine last week because BYD, I guess, is looking for dealers, hoping that they reduce tariffs or eliminate tariffs on Chinese EVs, which I think it'd be very interesting. What do you think on as we go into the end of the year? Obviously, there's going to be some incentives on Grand Wagoneers in the leasing side, maybe, or maybe partnered with, I don't know, Sleep Country or one of these mattress companies, Casper, maybe. But, what do you think other brands are going to do to make it interesting as we roll into the holidays? You think there's going to be the normal lease deals, or you think they're going to get more interesting? I mean, what do you think, Peter? Peter Martin?
I think there's going to be also, not only with the Grand Wagoneer, but I think from what I'm seeing, all these electric vehicles, with all the challenges for the U.S. with the electric vehicles. And what's interesting is everybody's like cutting back on the electric production, everyone's cutting back. And I just was reading an article that NASCAR is now adding all of these power charging stations because they're going to, try to reduce their carbon footprint by promoting all of their staff go to electric vehicles. So it's kind of like there's such mixed messaging out there in the advertising world and just in the world in general with the electric vehicles. And quite honestly, when I talk to people on the street, it's like they don't want an electric vehicle. And now that all the government incentives are going away, so I think that's going to be another challenge for the dealers that have the electric vehicles. How are they going to get rid of it?
Oh yeah. Oh, and if anyone's interested in a black hat from this year, there's 2 left. Whoever jumps first gets them on me. If you're in the U.S., unfortunately, you got to pay a Trump tariff on them, but I'm happy to send them out for no cost. So let me know. There's 2 black left. That's the last 2. And we will have new shirts and hats for NADA. I'm going to be at the NUMA booth. And for full disclosure, NUMA is a sponsor of the show for 2026. So if you're going to be at NADA 2026, I will be at the NUMA booth. If you want to do, they're going to be next to CDK. And also, VidCalls is extending their free trial due to popular demand until the 21st of this month. So if you are looking to get video in your dealership and sell more cars and connect with more customers real time, definitely reach out to me or go to register.vidcalls.com or webinar.vidcalls.com. So what do you think, Doug? I mean, obviously, Amazon is making it easy to buy cars, and they're not doing the Foursquare, I'm assuming. What do you think the manufacturers like Hyundai and the like are going to do to make it interesting when we have competition from, say, other makers as we end the year? What do you think?
It'll be interesting because it seems like the the big issue everybody has to handle is affordability. In between that and, as you said, being upside down, I'll be curious what kind of money the manufacturer throws, and then does it let it be dealer cash and let dealers have the play with it. Because to me, that's the biggest issue is, certainly in the States, it's not like it's getting easier to buy a car. It's not like it's getting cheaper. I'll be curious to see what happens, how they address that, because they can't keep going down the road they're going down. And that to me is going to be the kitchen table issue that they have to address with all the consumers.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see maybe decontented cars like Slate and others, or maybe you'll see a lot more used car sales. But also the bank's got to be crying a little bit going, oh yeah, I got this car that's 50 grand and now I got to bury 20 grand from the last time. And by the way, I also got to make the rate reasonable at, say, 8% versus 12. And on top of all that, you got a lot of bad credit. So you got people that still need a car and they need it affordable, but there is no affordable car. So I think used is going to be on a tear, specifically just because of price point. But I guess the other question becomes, what does that mean for imported cars, especially from the Germans, to pick a random brand, who, put people into cars on a lease maybe, and now the customer wants to switch it. Is that going to mean a transition to finance? Are dealers really marketing that effectively, saying, hey, I've got these lease customers who are all going to want to finance because they look at the price of the new M3 competition going, holy shit, Batman, I can't afford that car. I mean, I don't know. I'm curious as to what, especially on the Highline, people do. I mean, you got Genesis, you got other brands with some interesting stuff. And if you didn't see what was going on at the Tokyo Motor Show, there's kind of some interesting new models that dealers are manufacturers are putting out there, especially from Toyota. I don't know if you saw the new Corolla, but wow, that's
pretty amazing. The new Corolla is awesome.
That's a pretty crazy design. Like for Corolla, I'm like, vanilla ice cream just got way more interesting. What do you think, Peter? Do you think that the Highline is going to be able to compete there?
There's a number of things to unpack on that one. First is I just got back from Dealer Connect in Florida.
Yeah.
And there were some incredibly smart people at that event, from George Nenny, David Kane, John Niff, and I had a conversation with Gary May from IMAC, and we looked at some of the data points of the finance and where people were at finance, and the cliff that we've entered into on finance. It is extremely scary. Now, combine that we are 16 million cars down in production over the last three to 5 years. So those cars are disappeared. That means the used car market is artificially high. The affordability rate, the average car payment is $700 and change still.
Yep.
The average interest payment is sitting at over 8%. We're at the financial cliff, and the amount of the amount of subprime that are getting called back is at the highest ever. But it's also at the highest ever for the amount of prime that are 2 to 3 months in default.
Yeah.
So we're sitting in a very precarious position, and the only way that we get out of this, and this was something that happened in 2008, and it caused a lot of trouble, is that the manufacturers use their own credit wings to underwrite the marketplace to keep the machine moving.
Yeah.
And if we look at that, the manufacturers are going to have to take the risk, underwrite their own paper, and get the machine continuously moving. They're going to take a hit, but the challenge with that is how many hits can they take, because they're taking billion-dollar hits on EVs. They were forced into that because of an administration. Soon as the money ran out from that, the tap turned off, and everyone the spin backwards was incredible. Now they're saying, well, BYD is going to be the savior because it's a cheap form of transportation. But if they bring or allow BYD into North America, they're going to desecrate the OEM legacies, and they're going to bankrupt three OEMs overnight. Because if we look at Europe, and you see that, and I'm just going to use Porsche. Porsche took a 98% revenue or profitability loss. They lost $1.2 billion in the last quarter, and that was a car company that was running at an 8% profitability. One of the strongest car companies in the world lost $1.2 billion because of the EVs. They are reversing faster. Mercedes got caught with their pants down. So Mercedes now is buying engines off of their rival, BMW, to support electric ICE engines and hybrids. So they're going to BMW for that. It's just pandemonium in Europe because of BYD and the other Chinese coming in at the price point that they're coming in at. Now, coming from a mining industry background as well, I understand what the Chinese did with the critical earths for the EVs. They bought 85% of them up. Now they own it. They control that marketplace. The governments say you have to do this, so they inflate the cost, so it's extremely expensive for the OEMs to get in it, and they subvent it back to their own manufacturers, so the OEMs can't compete with the manufacturers out of China. So the geoeconomic political background of the EVs is going to crush the industry. What's China at? 37% of global car manufacturing now?
Yeah, but you got another interesting twist. I don't know if you saw this last week, but there's an interesting twist right now on the battery side, not only from the BYD side, but also from the Toyota side. It looks like we're very close to getting to the solid state battery being realities, which causes a new twist around the existing EVs that are in market, whether it be from Tesla or Ford or pick your company. And I think that's really interesting, just because you have a lot of people. Well, one sec, Peter. One sec. You have a lot of people saying, "Hey, the electric, maybe I'll buy it if it's cheap enough," and BYD probably will solve for that. But what for the people who've had an electric car early adopter for 3 to 5 years, who now their car is already worth like 20% of what they paid for it, and now they're going, not only is that a problem, it's going to get worse because you're going to have a battery that basically makes their battery obsolete. So the way I look at it is as follows. There's going to be a hell of an opportunity for dealers who can buy a large percentage of used EVs and sell them cheap, especially onto subprime if they're new. But also you got to be careful, because if that the solid states happen sooner rather than later, what you're going to see is you're going to see even a deeper decline. And the question then becomes on the banking side, whether it be corporate money from traditional banks or automotive banks or the OEM banks. You know, if I've got a bunch of vehicles out there that I'd financed over MSRP and now they're worth like 10% of what they were, I think it's going to be really interesting. And the ex-CEO of Stellantis, I think he wrote a book recently. He was talking about Tesla last week, and it was really interesting about what he had to say about robots, which seemed to be where Tesla's pivoting to. But the bigger question becomes, if that happens and say Tesla gets out of the car business, who ends up buying that? I know there was some talk about Apple years ago, but Peter, Martin, what did you think?
Well, I think what you're saying is interesting about the robots, because I see the robots, like I was the Mopar and they had a big push on the robots there, but I'm not sure if I agree. I don't think Tesla is going to be moving out of the market. I think they've got a good thing and they're doing well. I think there's going to be a lot of transition with what's going to happen in the next year, because without all those incentives, it is going to make it very difficult. But I think what the other people are talking about is quite interesting, because the rare earths and how that all ties in, because that's a whole aspect that no one has really addressed properly. And basically, they've kind of cornered the market, and that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at chips is the other thing. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Taiwan, and I know there's been some plants that have been building in the U.S., but the bigger question becomes, and this goes back to the pandemic when they had all these cars that were on dealer lots that didn't have features because there was no chips. I mean, what happens when you have the Chinese cornering not only rare earth, but also chips and saying, hey, we're just going to put the squeeze on Taiwan? So I think there's going to definitely be some interesting roller coaster moments in the car industry. But my bigger concern is on the banking side. If you have 50% bad credit, let's just say that's the metric, and then you have a bunch of people defaulting on these cars that then, you know, land on dealer lots, and the manufacturer has to eat that money. What happens in terms of keeping those people moving? And I think that that's really what it gets down to. I was at this Chrysler store on the weekend, and man, the amount of new inventory they got on the ground, I mean, it was a little, even used inventory, they probably had 200 pieces. And they had some weird pieces like a V-spec Cadillac, that convertible one, the weird stuff that I wouldn't have touched with a 10-foot pole in the current market space. But I think that on the plus side, you do have companies like Slate and others going, what if we had an entry-level pickup? What if we had an entry-level hatchback? What if we had an entry-level SUV that had decontent, that it was decontented out to make that affordable new? Because I think that's really when you look at millennials and younger, they're just looking for wheels. They're not looking for fancy wheels. Maybe they are, but they can't afford it. So I think there's a real opportunity on the low end, especially in the new manufacturing. I think the manufacturers got to stop putting screens everywhere and start focusing on what people want, which is transportation. And I think, Toyota, obviously shooting a volley with that Corolla was real interesting, but there was a lot of moves from every manufacturer. I thought every manufacturer was saying, hey, what if we did this? And what if we did that? So I think there's definitely going to be some exciting stuff going on with new product. The question is, can they hit the low end of that market? I mean, everyone's chasing that high end, which I think is a declining business model. I don't think a $60,000 van is what millennials can afford. I mean, what do you think, Doug?
No, I agree. In fact, there's certainly been a lot of complaints about people complaining about the technology. There's too much in it. They can't figure out how to use it. Hell, we just got a new Tucson plug-in, and shit, I can't use half the stuff on the car. I can't figure out how to use it. So yeah, I could see it going back to a bare bones existence. I also wonder if, and I don't know the specifics, and maybe Peter Smith might, but I wonder if you start going back to, they start looking at like a subscription model or something like that, where people can, have cars, change cars, all that, and get away from the ownership or the leasing. I'd be curious what the two Peters have to say about that.
Well, just going to the one piece about the cars, the lower price cars, my 23-year-old son went out car shopping last week, and, he works hard, he's got a good job, but Ian, you hit the nail on the head. That age group cannot go out and buy these cars. He's looking at a pickup truck, and they were like $60,000, $70,000. He had to go over a used pickup truck, and quite honestly, in Florida, he had a hard time finding anything that was fair mileage. I mean, he ended up picking up one with 51,000 miles in 2019 that he could actually afford. But again, he got hit because his first-time car buyer at 9% interest, okay, with active payment up, you know, but he needed a good, dependable truck for work, and the market's not there, and the manufacturers, they're not making anything that's affordable for that generation up, because it's just, and like you said, there's so much stuff that they're putting into these vehicles that makes it not only very expensive, but also the repair cost becomes very problematic in the future.
Well, look at that Volkswagen electric bus. Like, talk about an epic fail. Why don't you have an ICE version? Like, why is there no ICE version of that car? Like, what? I mean, you did well with the Beetle. You come up with this $60,000 electric bus. Cool. Where's the ICE version? They've already canceled the thing. It's done. Like, nobody wanted it. It's too much money. What do you think, Peter Smith?
Well, I tail into what Doug said on the subscription model and affordability and everything else. And I told you that I don't have my Jeep anymore. And the reason why I don't have my Jeep is I've looked at alternative ways of driving.
Yeah.
And I just did a one lap of America. I drove from my house, which is just outside Buffalo, all the way to St. Augustine, Florida, and then across to Houston, then up through Texas, Kansas, Ohio, northern Michigan, Northwood, and then home. It was 6,600 miles.
Okay.
Okay. I rented a car from Enterprise. It was I did it in 10 days, essentially. The cost of that rental was $300 for 6,600 miles on a brand new 2026 Audi. $300 it cost me.
Wow.
The depreciation, total, including insurance, everything. The cost of on that car that I just put on that 2026 would have been somewhere in the neighborhood of probably $5,000 to $7,000. And so
you might not want to say that too loud. They may not want to rent to you next time.
So I turned around and I'm renting these cars from Enterprise at $30 a day.
Yeah, this is stupid.
So if I use a car, say, because I have a home office, I use a car, say 15 days a month, 30 days, it's $450 for a brand new 2026 Mercedes, BMW, Audi. Why would I ever own one?
Right.
Why?
Right.
Wow.
Because I don't pay for depreciation.
Insurance too, right?
Yeah, it includes insurance. Why would I ever own one? So it doesn't make any sense. And the car manufacturers, my wife turned around and said to me, "Oh, I love this CLA that we have right now." And she goes, "How much is that car?" Well, it's $60,000 Canadian. If I run it on a 48-month lease, that's $800 a month plus insurance, plus maintenance, plus.
Yeah.
And I'm at $1,000 a month, where I can get it from Enterprise for $900, and do as much mileage as I want on it, and not worry about a single thing. Doesn't make sense. The manufacturers have to come back to reality and say, where's the price point? Now, Volvo had a great subscription model. BMW had a great subscription model. Cadillac has a great subscription model.
Porsche had one, I think, didn't
and
they?
the best of them all.
I think Porsche had one too.
And the best of them all was Porsche.
Yeah.
Porsche has the best one. Porsche has a tiered subscription model that the entry level is Macan, Boxster, and Cayman, and then it goes up to Cayenne, Panamera, and then it goes up to 911s. And if you're at the 911 level, you can get anything you want, and so on and so on as it's tiered. But you can change the car daily with Porsche.
Wow.
It's unreal. So you could be driving a Porsche GT3 for a weekend and then come back and say, I need a Panamera for the week, and go back and go into a GT3 again for the weekend again. And that's one way. Then you have other forms of subscription models like Zipcar and things like that are running around, where you just pick up and drop off the car wherever you want.
Yeah, well, look at what they're doing. Look at what they're doing with cell phones now. It's like a 2-year. You bring it back after 2 years, they give you the new one. I mean, you know, and these are items that are like $1,500, but I guarantee you, if a manufacturer said, "Listen, Doug, I noticed that you drive different cars or you switch. This is your history with the brand. What if we could do this for you? If we could make the payment, say $900 a month, including everything, including fuel or whatever, and then we just switch it whenever you want." I mean, I think that's a big model. The only question is, I know Peter's drive it like you stole it kind of guy. I mean, what do you do with that Porsche after it's been through 3 30-year-olds and drove it like they stole it? Like, who wants that car?
Well, you're looking at a price point that most people can't afford. But the people that are in that snack bracket will pay for it. Like the top end Porsche subscription is $4,500 a month. Well, at $4,500 a month, it's not far off of a lease program, but you get the flexibility. And so your cost to entry is substantial. The one that was really good, but it never took off in Canada, did in the States, was Volvo's. And Volvo's was a 1-year program at $999 a month. That included your maintenance, your snow tires, your car, everything. Insurance, everything was covered under $999 a month. And the adoption rate in Canada was 2 cars.
But wouldn't the car rental company have an angle and say, "Hey, we're a car rental company. We got this fleet. Why don't we get you on a monthly subscription model? You just pay $500 or whatever the number is. We'll just switch out your car. You just go to your local enterprise and you can swap it whenever you want." Like, why wouldn't they take that fleet they have in place, whether it's new or near new, whatever, and just sell direct to the customer? Say, "Listen, your national car leasing or your enterprise or Alamo or whatever, Rent-A-Wreck, you know, like Rent-A-Wreck, obviously with the subprime guys, like, hey, you're subprime guy, you're spending $600 a month on a beater. Why wouldn't we just rent you a Corolla for $600 a month?" Like, I think back in the pandemic, one of the dealers in California was doing that. They were taking their new cars and they were basically renting them and then turning them into CPOs. So there's an angle there, I think, for the dealer to say, "Hey, I'm a Jeep Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. I got a bunch of Wagoneers. Why don't I put those out as a short-term rental and then turn them into a demo or a used car, at least to get them off my lot?" Like, just think about the money it's costing to sit those $100,000 boulders on my lot.
Most people don't think it's at the box.
Yeah, but they could, though. Like, it can't be that hard to think that way. I mean,
absolutely. Well, it was like us when we were in 1999. We're on the border. The Canadian dollar was as far in the toilet as it is this time, and we were selling CPOs into the States for $6,000 back of Manheim numbers, and dealers were just saying to us, "Send us as many as you want. You have a blank check.
We'll buy those. We'll buy that for $1."
Yeah, and I sold 3,600 Volvos to a number of dealers across the United States in 1 year, and I was making $2,000 a copy on each one of them, and the dealers in the States were making $5,000-6,000 a copy.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's always an angle. I mean, there's always an angle. I remember I had a buddy of mine in Vancouver market. He was doing import-export of vehicles back in 2007. He was even buying boats. He just couldn't get the banks to let him buy them. He was buying boats for 30 cents on the door because everyone is like, "Yeah, I just got to get rid of this thing. Like, I can't afford it. Like, I just want it to go away." The bank started getting nervous because he was buying, I think, $10 million in inventory a year or something crazy. It was like a stupid amount of different things he was buying. But yeah, I think there's an opportunity for that subscription model. But specifically, I think the car rental companies have a huge angle, because if you're at the airport and you're driving a rental car and they said to you, "Peter, hey, Peter, what do you drive normally?" "Well, I drive this Mercedes CLA." "Okay, well, what if we could get you that for less money? Would you just like want to be on a monthly model with us? You could, every time you're at the airport, you could switch it up for another one, whatever you want to do, right? Like the national, what is it? The national executive, right?
You would think that would be a great idea to utilize, especially for business travelers, to create loyalty. Here you travel X amount of days a year.
Yeah.
Here's our tiers: 10-day rental, a 20-day rental, a 30-day rental. Just come and pick it up. Just bypass the lines. You're already pre-approved. Just walk in and grab a car.
Yeah.
Basically, you just reserve it and go from there. That is an absolute opportunity. I think that they're all missing for loyalty, because you have your whole Hertz Gold card and you have this and that and whatever. Personally, I tend to go with Enterprise, but finding Enterprise in the States is very, very difficult at a lot of places. But there's certain things that people are missing out of the box, and people make stupid mistakes. Like let's look at Southwest.
Yep.
Southwest Airlines.
Ryanair.
For ever in a day, it was your bags fly free. You can put up to 2 bags on the airplane. I was loyal to them because when I travel to an event, you're always paying for bags to get to the event. And I didn't care about boarding times or this or whatever, how they boarded. Now they have seat selection. Now they have this, but they still have the church pew seats in the airplanes, that if you travel for more than 3 hours on a Southwest flight, you have to go see your chiropractor and a massage therapist. But they didn't change anything about their travel. Their rates are the same as every other airline. Now you have to pay for your bags just like every other airline. So why fly them? Why fly them? They killed their golden goose. And we see that in the automotive industry all the time. They turn around. Let's go back to the easiest one to pick on, Stellantis.
Yeah.
What was Stellantis known for? The Hemi. And they killed it. They killed the Hemis all across the board. And so they killed them. They lost their market share. And they immediately said, we're going to bring them back.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what happened with that electric Challenger or whatever it was. I guess it was after the Hellcat. I mean, there's a guy in the U.S. He has one of those, I think it's a Dodge Ram with the Hellcat engine. He spent in excess of $25,000 on anti-theft because they don't want the truck. They just want the engine. So he's got these things that pop up. He's got a number combination in the truck and all this. And I'm going, if you guys spend $30,000 to secure your vehicle, you probably should think about a different vehicle. Like, to me, that was just insanity. I was like, really? Like, what are you doing? But to your point, I mean, if you look at it from, I used to fly a lot when I worked for Nissan. If they had said to me at the airport, hey, we noticed you rent 3 times a week cars. Why don't you just make it a month? We'll just rent you cars for the whole month. You can just replace the car you got. Like, forget the car you have. Plus, that turns them into a retail location. Because they already have the inventory. They're already buying it at preferred prices. Why would they not do that? And then obviously they have the option of saying, hey, if you want to own it permanently, we can finance it for you or whatever. But the advantage being then you could rent a car anywhere, right? You could rent a car, you drop it off at the airport in one city, you pick it up somewhere else. Like, it's the same deal, right? So there's an opportunity for them to really leverage that model, especially for people who say, hey, car rental's expensive. But if it was a subscription model, much like Netflix or something like that, that would make a lot of sense, I think. But what do you think, Doug? You travel quite a bit. You travel quite a bit, right?
No, actually anymore, I don't have to travel that much. So
okay.
It's pretty nice. But I don't know. I just think that the topic of affordability should be rising to the top. I think that this industry's stuck on so many angles, that I don't know where they go from here.
Well, yeah, but you could easily just decontent the car. I mean, I remember years ago, BMW got in trouble for saying, oh, you can have heated seats, but you got to pay for the subscription model. What if they just said, listen, all the features are optional. If you want a payment at $300, it's here. If later you decide you can afford $400, you could add that. That would make it, easier for them to do. And I think similar to what Tesla did, they said they put all these computers in the car for self-driving, but if you want it, you can add it whenever. You don't have to, though. So I think that kind of is interesting. But Peter, you moved from Baltimore to Florida. Do you do a lot of rental cars or no?
When I travel, I do, but the problem I've got with what you're talking about with this whole rental car thing, that's put a strain. I think the dealers would fight that because now you're basically creating a whole nother competitor for them because now they're really focusing on getting those vehicles through, and then they're going to be trying to sell them themselves, which creates a whole new competitor.
Yeah.
The dealers were to adopt it, I think it would make some sense and have some sort of a plan like that for the dealers. But the rental car piece, I like it theoretically if you're doing a lot of traveling and being able to switch the cars. I just don't know how many. Again, the younger generation, a lot of them don't even want to drive these days. You know, so it's just kind of, I think it's one of these where it could work, but I think it's going to struggle in a couple different areas because I do think it's going to be a problem for the dealers that if the rental car companies try to do that because it's going to take money out of their pockets.
But do you think that's a youth issue or an affordability issue? Do you think if the young people could afford a car, they'd still not want to drive?
I think if they could afford a car, I think it would change things. But like we're talking about, you got the high price of the vehicles, and then you got the interest rates. So two things right there. For most kids, or I'm calling kids. I'm 61 years old. I shouldn't call them kids. But that generation, 20 to 30, it's a big struggle for them. I mean, I have friends of mine, my neighbors around where I live, they have kids that same age. And quite frankly, they bought the kids their cars because, and now they're driving these cars that are, 9, 10, 11 years old, but at least they don't have a car payment. And that's what my son had. He didn't have a car payment because I had gotten him a car. And he kept finally at the point, hey, I got a new job. I'm making more money. I want to get a nicer truck. Yeah. So at that point, it makes it hard for them when they try to step out on their own.
Well, my younger brother bought his son a car, and he doesn't even drive it at all. So go ahead, Doug, sir.
You think about it, dealers do pickup and delivery for service. Why couldn't they do pickup and delivery for a subscription model?
They could.
And we'll bring it to you when you need it. We'll take it away when you don't. They're churning inventory. They're getting a lot of exposure to other models.
Yeah.
Might be something there.
Well, not only that, I mean, let's say a kid can't afford a full car payment. Maybe he only needs a car a couple days a week. Maybe he doesn't need it on weekends. Maybe there's a fractional model where you can say, hey, you can't afford $800 a month, but what could you afford? Well, I can afford $600. Okay, well, you need the car Monday to Friday, right? Okay, well, what if you didn't own it the whole month? Or you shared it with your roommate or whatever it is, right? Girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. There's an option there to make that car affordable and also work, to your point, Doug, with the service model. Like, they could move that inventory around. I think there's a stat that 80% of cars sit in a driveway most of the time anyway. Go ahead, Peter. Martin, you had a question?
Yeah. Let's look at it on this way. How many groups out there have a buy here, pay here model?
Lots.
Like, you could easily put this into your fold if you wish to do it, especially when you're looking at inventory. Now, the only issue with it becomes logistics.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to pay, you're going to have someone in there, go into that model, you have to guarantee that there's a vehicle for them. Otherwise, the liability issue becomes huge. So you need a rather large fleet. You need a fleet that's probably 30% larger than your need. So that comes into the profitability stage. But if you're in a situation like, let's just pick on someone else for a change. Let's go to Nissan.
Yep.
That you have a brand that is struggling because they have no new models. They have nothing exciting about them. They are basically the Hyundai of the 90s right now in our business. They're extremely challenged. And so they have inventory, they have dealer challenges that dealers want out. You can pick up a Nissan franchises, or let's go even one step further where it's the death blow, Infinity. Let's go.
Come on, I used to work for Nissan. I used to work for them. They're not that bad a brand. Go ahead.
They're a great car company, but they're the ugly stepchild next door that just is just getting beaten every day at school and thrown in the locker. But Infinity Infiniti lost their complete identity, and with that, they turned around and they're struggling. I know 2 dealers that just gave back the franchise and just said, "Hey, you can have it. We
don't want these cars." Well, look at Toyota. They're launching a new brand above Lexus. Like, is there a market for an above Lexus brand for Toyota? I mean, what do you think? I mean, I don't think that's going to hunt. Like, you're looking at Lyrics and other things from Cadillac that are like Bentley pricing. Like, to me, they're going the wrong direction, right?
So let's look at that for 1 second here. And there's a great study that was put out there in 1980. Honda went to California and spent $90 million on a focus group.
Yeah.
Would you pay more money for
We lost you. Oh, there you go.
They spent the similar amount of money. They spent the similar amount of money in Europe. In the United States, no one said they'd pay more money for a Honda, so they created Acura, and they used a micrometer as a for precision. In Europe, they said absolutely we pay more money for an upscale Honda. So Acura was never in Europe or in Asia. It was only in North America because the perception was that they would have to change the brand. Now, in Europe, they never offered Lexus.
Yeah.
Because they never needed it. Yeah. And so it's only since become available in Europe. Now, Europeans will pay more money for an upscale Toyota. And they will pay more money for an upscale Lexus. Because that's how they're going to market it. They're not going to market it as an upscale Toyota. They're going to market it as an upscale Lexus. And if you look at the price of some of these cars that have come out of Japan, there are some significant costing cars that people are buying. Like, who would ever think a Lexus LFA is worth $1.2 million?
I know.
Yeah, but think about it from a sedan point of view. So let's just look at the high-end Lexus sedan. I don't know what it is, but anyway, the high-end Lexus sedan. Would you pay another 30% for? Yeah. Would you pay another 30% for a Mac Daddy version? I mean, I look at some of this stuff and I go, when you look at say Alfa Romeo, Ferrari, you look at some Chrysler product, different types. I mean, you're not talking. I mean, even the parts bin's not that different. But for Lexus and Toyota, and having owned a Lexus myself, I would say that really. Was it worth the money? I mean, I bought a pre-owned, but was it that much better than a Toyota? Well, I mean, it was a little bit better finished, but not really.
Here's the question. How about the Cadillac Celeste or whatever it's called? The stupid $400,000 Cadillac.
That's the one I was just talking about. Yeah, it's like the price of a Bentley.
Is that?
Or a Rolls Royce. Like, really?
You're going to drive a Cadillac or a Bentley?
I don't know. Like, I think that's part of the confusion here. So you have the mid-range cars that used to be, say, 20 grand to 50 are now 40 to 70. And then you got the cars that used to be a luxury brand. They're now moving up farther. So they're unaffordable. But the big question is, so why wouldn't you look at that and say, okay, I got to move the price down so that people can afford it, because the younger people don't have the money the older people might have, and the older people are not making more of them. But instead of doing that, which would be common sense, what they're doing is they're trying to expand the upper echelon, which is crazy to me. Like, how many choices, if you were spending $300,000 on a car, how many choices are there today to buy that? Like, how many options would there be? There's got to be a lot, I would guess. Mm-hmm. And like, how many can you realistically sell? How many can you sell? That's the big question.
Well, here's an unbelievable stat that no one knows.
Yeah, go ahead.
What brand has the lowest age bracket demographic for a luxury car?
Electric motorcycles?
No.
Scooters?
Luxury motor cars.
Oh, luxury brand?
We're talking everything to Rolls Royce, to Porsche, everything. What brand has the lowest age demographic of purchaser?
Toyota?
Nope.
I think it would be Porsche.
Nope.
I said Mercedes.
Kia?
Nope. Rolls-Royce.
Really?
Rolls-Royce has the lowest A traffic of any luxury manufacturer in the world.
Interesting.
And no one would. I've owned every single brand out there except for two. I haven't had a Maserati and I haven't had a Rolls-Royce. So in saying that, I always said I'm not old enough to drive a Rolls-Royce. Well, that's opposite of the actualities. And again, it's perception versus reality. I wrote an article a while back and I put 2 Rubik's Cubes out there. And I said one was scrambled, one was solved. And I said, what's the difference? It was perception versus reality. They're both identical. They both weigh the same. They both move the same. They have the same amount of squares, same amount of colors. Everything is identical. They manufacture this identical. All we're looking at is what we see. And what we see is what our reality is. It's not what the actual reality is. So when we look at what the automobile industry is, right now we see it how we see it. We want to see it, not how others see it. So you could, and this is one of the things I talk about, 20 groups. You have all these guys going out and running off to 20 groups and saying, oh, we get learning best practices from this dealer, this dealer, this dealer. Well, how about having a focus 20 in your dealer and asking your clients what's going on, because that's how you're going to sell the cars. Are we making the cars affordable? Are we doing this? Because it's the client that pays me, Peter, Doug, Ian, OEMs, dealers, vendors, everyone. It's the client. So why don't we start focusing on them first? And that's the challenge that we have.
100%. I think the biggest challenge today with auto dealers is like any other retail, you've got to justify the square footage, you got to justify the inventory, but more importantly, if your customers' buying habits are changing and you're not seeing traffic in your dealership or not selling cars, you got to question a lot of things, and you got to do that today. Like, hey, we used to sell 300 cars a month, now we're selling 200. Why is that? Like, what's going on here? As opposed to waiting for the doors to close, which I think I was joking with a friend of mine earlier this morning about Mitsubishi franchises. So you have a license to sell subprime cars. It's not if you knew it at the same time. You know, I hear they're giving those out like chiclets. But at the end of the day, you got to look at it and say, how can I maximize my opportunity? And who do I got to listen to? Well, the people that come in and buy and don't buy cars, the people that come in and service. You know, and I know we've said this a lot about customer experience. Part of it's that. But if the customer experience is equal, Doug, to pick an A to Z sync or A to Z sync, and the payment was less, the people are going to go probably with a lower payment, even if the customer experience is the same, because they're saying, hey, if I can buy this car and it's a great experience, or this car, it's a great experience, and one's a lot less money, they're probably going to go with that because people only care about saving time and saving money. If you're not saving them time or money, then they're going to be like, well, what car do I actually want to buy? It's painful either way. And I think that's really what drives customer experience in sales today, which is different than what it did probably a century ago, where, you know, do you want it or you not want it? Now it's like, we got to go from do you want it or you're not want it to, will you please buy it? Please, sir, can you buy the car for me today? I got too many of these things. And these are expensive sleds. I mean, I think that we've got to adapt to that Gen Z millennial alpha generation and say, hey, obviously, you can't buy it at $1,000 a month. What could you afford? And what car should we have that maybe you want to buy, right? Versus what we have, which nobody wants, right? I mean, adding more stuff to a car they can't already afford and trying to sell it to them is probably a mistake, right?
And I think there's two things that come to mind. One is I think that slate model will be interesting to see how that's
100%.
adopted. And then the other thing is let's assume, for argument's sake, that autonomous vehicles really do take off.
Yeah, Waymo.
Can people basically lease out their cars when they're not using it? I use it to go to work, and when I'm not using it, somebody else is using it, and it's actually making me money. And those are the two angles that I think are intriguing. They're at either end of the continuum, but that slate thing is intriguing to me. I think there's going to be a chunk of society that's going to say, yeah, I'll do this. I'll just do a little Lego car. I'll add this. I'll add this. Don't need this. Here we go. Sweet. I'm in. Let's roll.
Yeah, and then
it'll be very interesting to see how that does.
And then when I have more money, I can add the Lego piece on the back, or I can add.
Yeah, whatever.
You know, I need more seats later in my life. I put those in the back. It's like erector set car or like a Lego car to your point.
Exactly.
Or IKEA, the IKEA of cars.
So Dodge did that a while back with the Dart when they brought the Dart back to prominence, and the little 4-door Corolla killer, as they called it, but it never worked.
Yeah. Like the Neon 2.0.
Dodge made it a registry for kids, so kids would be able to build their Dart the way they wanted it, and then the parents or the grandparents or the work or whatever could donate to their Dart fund and build out their Dart for them, and it would just be held as the thing got to the point where the kid could afford it on a monthly payment or whatever. So the parents would buy the alloy wheels, or the parents would buy the stereo, or the grandparents would buy the navigation or the sports seats or whatever. And they did it in that manner. And I thought it was one of the most brilliant marketing plays out there for getting entry level people into the car business, or not into the car business, but into the purchasing.
Yep.
And it disappeared. Like, yeah, we have these great ideas in the business, but they don't market them, and that's the problem. And I'll go one step further, and I'm sure Peter will agree with me that the dealerships and the manufacturers' websites suck, and they are
no, come on, they're brilliant.
They're horrific, and they're marketing them the wrong way. They're engaging in them the wrong way. They're pushing what they need or what they think they need, and it's like the guy with bad teeth turning around and saying, "All I need is a toothbrush, and I'll be a model." When no, you need a dentist, and then you can use your toothbrush.
It's like the British with dental care, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I lived there long enough to see it.
Yeah.
But the challenge is, we in the industry notoriously don't listen.
Yeah. Well, in sales in general.
And that's the problem. Don't listen to the customer. We don't listen to our vendors. And the one thing that I heard at this conference, and I'll share it with you all because it was mentioned more than once. Has the vendor overtaken the dealer in operational knowledge?
Depend on the vendor, but I would say the vendors have the benefit of working with multiple dealers, so they probably know a lot about the in and outs of the business, probably more so than that dealer who may or may not pay attention. But we are out of time. So I would say Scion also tried the build your car model, which went sort of okay too, but not what they thought. But Peter, do you have any final thoughts?
Which Peter?
You, the other Peter. Peter number two.
I think Peter hit the nail on the head with a couple of things, and I think part of the problem we will see is they'll come up with a great idea, but they don't give it the time to grow and evolve. And it's like literally everything's like on a 30-day cycle. Well, okay, we didn't get the results. Everybody wants immediate results.
Yeah.
They don't want to put the effort into making something last and let it grow, because I think Peter hit the nail on the head. A lot of great ideas out there, but they're not executed properly and given the opportunity to actually generate the results that people are looking for.
Fantastic. Doug, any final thoughts?
Yeah, there's always the problem du jour, and today we've identified it as affordability, and a month from now it'll be something else. So never a dull day in this industry.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for joining. And anyone listening, if you have questions, reach out. If you are looking for a free, let me say that again, free auto shop hat. I got 2 black ones left. You would just need to pay the duty if you're in the US. I'll mail them out to you at my cost, which would be free. Let me know. There's 2 black left. If you're going to be at NADA 2026, I will be at the NUMA booth. I will have shirts and hats at the show. And if you are interested in taking advantage of the VidCalls free trial, it's going on to the 21st of November. Sign up at register.vidcalls.live. Or if you want to watch the webinar, webinar.vidcalls.live. Have a great day. Bye for now.
Bye,
everybody. Thanks.